Hey everybody, this is Patrick Evans-Hylton with VirginiaEatsAndDrinks.com, and I also am the culinary advisor for Norfolk Festevent, and we're going to be doing a wine tasting today for FETV as part of virtual Harborfest. You know, this is the 45th year for Harborfest, but everything is kind of held virtually now because of COVID, but that doesn't mean you can't celebrate, and what we're going to do is celebrate with three great Virginia wines that is perfect for seafood. You know, Harborfest, it celebrates the maritime history, the long, great maritime history of coastal Virginia. So these three Virginia wines will pair with a lot of seafood that you may want to cook in honor of all the abundance of seafood and all the wonderful waterways and also the 45th anniversary of Harborfest. So we have a few here. We have Michael Schaap's Chardonnay. We also have Whitehall Vineyards Viognier, and we also have Michael Schaap's Petite Mancini. Now, all of these wines, they came from my friend Mark Sonner, who is a super sommelier and one of the owners of Zoe's Restaurants in Virginia Beach, right in the Vibe District. And so Mark gave me these wines to pair with seafood. So we're going to talk a little bit about tasting wine and what you want to look at when you pair with seafood. And then on our blog, which will be on my website and my Facebook group, and also festevents.org, you can see exactly some tasting notes that come from these wines and maybe a few suggestions too that go with the pairing of them. But one of the best things to keep in mind when you're going to pair any wine with any food is you want to think about the body of the wine and the body of the food. And so that's just how heavy it feels in your mouth. Well, you know, most seafood is pretty light, and so that means you're going to want automatically a lighter bodied or maybe a medium bodied wine. And so what does all that mean? You know, so think about drinking milk, not the taste of milk, but think about the texture, the feel of the milk in your mouth. So if you have taken a big swig of some, say, heavy whipping cream or half and half, that's pretty heavy, isn't it? Because of all that fat in it, it fills your mouth up and that feels heavy. If you drink just a regular glass of milk, just the regular old vitamin D, you know, homogenized milk, that kind of doesn't have the same body and weight, does it? But it's not too light either, so that's more or less like a medium-bodied wine would be. And then if you think about drinking skim milk, which is, you know, it basically has no fat in it at all, you know, you might have 1% or something, but that's very light in your mouth. And so that's a light-bodied wine. So when you think about raw oysters, when you think about roasted oysters, when you think about a crab cake, you know, you're thinking automatically those are kind of lighter or medium-bodied. They're not heavy or, you know, like a steak or something like that. Although if you ate like a tuna steak, well, that could change the game, but we're not going to go there, not yet. All right. So one of the other things you want to do is think about the flavor profile of the dish. Something like oysters, they're very neutral, so they would pair, you know, with several different things. But if you say you grill a piece of salmon and you grill it with a barbecue sauce, that barbecue sauce, you kind of get that into the equation when you start thinking about which wines to pair. And if it all sounds confusing, don't. The basic adage is what my good friend Frank Morgan says on his blog, and the blog name is Drink What You Like, and that's a great way to think about it. But do keep in mind the body of the food, the body of the wine, and maybe some complementary flavors too. So now you want to taste the wine and try to get the absolute most out of a tasting that you can. Now, also in all of those notes that I'm going to be giving you on VirginiaEatsAndDrinks.com, the Facebook group, and Facebook group, by the way, is facebook.com/group/Virginia Eats and Drinks, and also at festevents.org. I'm going to give you some tasting notes so that you can kind of follow along and see what you are tasting and make some notes along the way. The first thing you want to do, we're going to take a look at this Chardonnay here. The first thing you want to do is to look at the color of the wine. And I do that a couple of different ways. I hold it up to light. I sometimes hold it against a white background like a napkin or a menu or something. And so it's nice if you want to take some notes about wine so that you can kind of build up you know, a record of what you've enjoyed and what you really like, and maybe some things that you don't care for, is you want to look at the color. And so this is a nice golden color. It's beautiful, very typical of a Chardonnay. If you drink enough Chardonnays and make enough notes or something, if it's off color, you're going to know that more than likely something's wrong with the wine. The next thing you want to do is to smell the wine. I'm just going to stick my schnoz right down in here. Oh yeah, and that's very typical Chardonnay. You know, there's some apple, there's some pear, there's some floral. It's just gorgeous. But now, what we also want to do, because wine is a living thing, always makes me think of that ELO song. But we're going to swirl this just a little bit and get a little bit of aeration in it, and that opens the wine up. And sometimes the wine aroma will change completely, sometimes subtly. This just kind of amplifies it, so it's really beautiful. And now we get to taste. I always like to take a little taste before I swirl. Oh, that's so beautiful. And now I'm going to swirl the wine some. And when you're tasting, when you swirl here, go ahead, whoops, poured that little puppy a little too full, didn't I? Don't pull it too full. You can always go back for seconds. But I'm going to hold it in my mouth just a second. And breathe in as I swallow. And oh my gosh, that opens the flavors up so much. This would be so beautiful with a simple grilled piece of fish, a white fish, a salmon, something with some citrus, maybe a light barbecue sauce, oysters on the half shell, steamed oysters, fried oysters, oyster Rockefeller, clams, mussels. You know, so many of these wines are just, you know, white wines and all, they're just made for Virginia seafood. So gosh, that is absolutely so beautiful. Like I said, we're going to have notes and all on that. And then we're also going to have, in some of the posts that we're leading up to Harborfest, we're going to have some recipes like a cold crab dip that would be great with these. I've already posted, and that comes with a video too. And I've also already posted something with my recipe for a fried oyster po' boy that comes with collard and slaw, collard and cabbage slaw on it. Smack your mama good, I promise you that much. So be sure to check out the tasting notes, be sure to check out the tips and tricks, be sure to download your tasting sheet, and be sure to celebrate Virtual Harborfest. Again, festevents.org, virginiaeatsanddrinks.com, and facebook.com/group/Virginia Eats and Drinks, and cheers.